The next planet we got up-close photos of is Jupiter, the largest of the planets and the fifth planet from the Sun. Here's what we see of Jupiter from a telescope on Earth. Through a telescope, you notice two brownish-orange bands, or stripes, across the face of Jupiter. Are you ready for the up-close view when we send a camera to Jupiter? Here it is. It's beautiful. We've sent a few spacecraft close, and the thing that's impressive every time is how colorful Jupiter is. These are all clouds. When you're looking at Jupiter, you're looking at the tops of clouds. In this time-lapse video taken by one of the spacecraft we sent, you can actually see the clouds swirling over the course of one Jupiter day. Clouds on Earth are made of water, and they tend to look white. Jupiter has some white clouds, but it also has brown clouds, tan clouds, pink clouds, orange clouds, and no one really knows why they're those colors. One of these colorful clouds deserves special mention. This one the arrow is pointing to. The Great Red Spot. I'm not making that name up. That's what scientists call it. Almost 200 years ago, scientists were able to see the Great Red Spot through their telescopes, so we know that it's been around for at least that long. When we watch this carefully, we realize that it's not just some cloud, but a storm, a hurricane. Watch the time-lapse video again, but this time pay attention to the Great Red Spot. Notice how it's swirling, just like a hurricane on Earth does? It's crazy to think this is a hurricane that's been raging for at least 200 years, and doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. But that's not even the craziest thing about the Great Red Spot. This storm is over twice the size of the Earth. That gives you a sense of how massive the planet Jupiter is. Let's see up-close photos of the next planet out. Now, long before sending a spacecraft, everyone knew that being up close to Saturn would lead to some of the most amazing scientific photos ever taken, and Saturn has not disappointed us. So that you get a full sense of how awesome Saturn looks from up close, first look at this picture and remember what it looks like through a medium-sized telescope on Earth. And recall that for your grandparents, when they were kids, this is how Saturn would have often been depicted in diagrams or books. And ready? Now you see what Saturn actually looks like. This is a true color photo. If you flew to Saturn, this is what you'd see. Special measurements by spacecraft made us believe the rings are mostly made of dust and water ice. So in other words, we think the rings are many trillions of clumps of dirty ice all spread out, basically dusty snowballs. And the rings, here's a close-up video, they orbit Saturn too. We can see that in the video here. The rings are all moving at thousands of miles an hour. We haven't been able to get super close-up photos of Saturn's rings yet, allowing us to actually see the ice clumps and be certain if our theory is true. But if the theory is true, it would be risky to bring a spacecraft too close to the rings, for fear of it bumping into one of these ice balls at fast speed and getting damaged. What about landing a probe on Jupiter or Saturn? Why not land something on them? Well, all four of the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, we're pretty sure we can't ever land on because there's no surface. There's nothing to land on. We believe all of these planets are almost entirely clouds or gas. These two planets are the least known of all the 8 planets. We've only sent a single spacecraft that flew by Uranus in 1986 and reached Neptune 3 years later in 1989. Uranus and Neptune are so far away. Remember, they weren't even discovered until telescopes had been invented and improved. We knew that they were blue and likely made of gas. And by the mid-1900s, the very best telescopes we had allowed us to even see an occasional cloud or two. But that's about all. So we were excited to see what they look like up close, in detail. The Voyager 2 spacecraft sent back the first ever close-up image of Uranus in 1986. Are you ready? Weirdly, Uranus still just looked like a blue disk. It's kind of pretty, actually. But when we use special filters to look at Uranus, suddenly details of its clouds could be seen. What's very unusual about Uranus is the tilt of its spin, or rotation, its axis. Uranus spins or rotates around itself, just like the Earth and other planets do. But Uranus does this on its side. Its north pole doesn't point anywhere near Polaris or up above the solar system. Instead, it points off sideways to the solar system. All the other planets' poles point up and down. But not Uranus. This makes scientists wonder if at some point in its history, maybe something slammed into Uranus and knocked it over on its side like this. Neptune, the farthest planet from the Sun, was for this reason also the last to have a spacecraft sent to it. It takes almost 10 years for any spacecraft to get to Neptune. Neptune's color appears to be much deeper blue than Uranus, and unlike Uranus, when we sent a spacecraft to get close-up photos, we saw lots of cloud features, including this, a dark blue-colored hurricane we discovered. This was creatively named by scientists the Great Dark Spot. So we've flown robotic cameras past all the planets and put landers on 2 of them, Mars and Venus, which are the planets scientists now know the most about. We've even remote control landed something on one of Saturn's moons, 10 times farther away from the Sun than we are, the farthest away we've ever landed something on. No human being has ever been to another planet yet, but this will happen within your lifetime. There are people right now working on sending the first colony to Mars. One of the companies considered most likely to succeed is SpaceX, headed by this man, Elon Musk. The first trip is scheduled for about 11 years from now. Maybe someone you know will be on that flight. Our knowledge of the planets is only just beginning. We have so much to learn. But as Mars soon becomes our second home, it will be the planet we become total experts on next.